Are you ready to elevate your leadership journey through exploring the wisdom of the ages? Subscribe to the Leadership Lessons from the Great Books podcast on all major podcast platforms, including Apple iTunes, Spotify, and YouTube Music. You can also find us everywhere else podcasts are available. If you find value in our episodes, please leave a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, and of course, YouTube. We need those reviews to grow, and it is truly the easiest way to help other leaders and lovers of literature discover this show. And thank you for your support. Hello, my name is Hassan Sorrells, and this is the Leadership Lessons from the Great Books podcast, shorts. There's no co-host on these shorts episodes. We have extended the time on these shorter episodes from 5 to 6 minutes to 15 to 20 minutes for this season. This is so that these shorts can serve as introductory episodes released ahead of our weekly, longer form episodes. But don't worry, I will still let you know my observations, ideas, thoughts, or rants about the literature, philosophy, psychology, and even the theology of leadership, particularly as we prepare for the restoration of leadership and leadership principles during the next historical high in America. Why these episodes? Well, because listening to me talk about leadership for now around 15 to 20 minutes is still better than reading and trying to understand yet another business book. Even that business book that you bought with that famous person's name as the author, but you haven't applied any of the principles from that book to your leadership practices. At least not yet. In the last few generations, the people of the West have experienced a world that used to be held as a sacred place, descending ignobly into a place of the profane. The long story of the long 20th century, from the killing fields of World War I to the tragedy of 9/11, is one of events that occur and the meaning behind them being lost to the people involved and even to those observing them. This lack of meaning, this lack of a definitive structure of place, of meaning and of significance, takes Western man from a location of centered surety and transports him, or her, to the edges of uncertainty and chaos. Future historians, many years from now, will wonder why we in the West, during the 20th century, failed to arrest such a descent into the abyss. What was it in our nature that pulled us in? But we, in our time now, have an opportunity, buried in some of the great books that we will be addressing ourselves to this month, to explore how to pull ourselves back to the center and resacralize the Western world. We live in a world of specialists, but at one time, a man could make his way in the world as a rambunctious generalist. One of our authors this month, Lew Wallace, was an American lawyer, Union general in the American Civil War, governor of New Mexico Territory, politician, diplomat, artist, inventor, and an author who hailed from Indiana. Among his novels and biographies, Wallace is best known for his historical adventure story, Ben-Hur, A Tale of the Christ, which we will be covering on the podcast this month. It was a best-selling novel, and it has been called the most influential Christian book of the 19th century. Later this month, we will dive into the years following the French Revolution and the Napoleonic Wars in the writing of the great French epic Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. Beginning in 1815 and culminating in the 1832 June Rebellion in Paris, the novel follows the lives and interactions of several characters, particularly the struggles of the ex-convict Jean Valjean and his experience of redemption. Victor Marie Hugo was a French romantic author, poet, essayist, playwright, journalist, human rights activist, and politician. Hugo was at the forefront of the Romantic literary movement in France with his play Cromwell and drama Hernani. His works have inspired music, both during his lifetime and after his death, including the opera Rigoletto, and even a musical version of Les Miserables, and of course, Notre Dame de Paris. He produced more than 4,000 drawings in his lifetime and campaigned for social causes, such as the abolition of capital punishment and slavery. Hugo's views on politics changed from being a committed royalist as decades passed, and he became a passionate supporter of republicanism, an early progenitor of socialism, serving in politics as both a deputy and senator. His writing, his art, touched upon most of the political and social issues, and even the artistic trends of his time. His opposition to absolutism and his literary stature established him as a French national hero, who is even still celebrated today. Both these authors, Lew Wallace and Victor Hugo, were firmly men of the 19th century. They were both romantics and idealists. They were also both men who believed that the world they inhabited contained much more than what the eye could see. They were not brute materialists. They were not pointy-headed specialists. They were wide-ranging generalists with a deep understanding of the sacred nature of the world, the challenges the increasingly profane world of the coming 20th century would present, and they understood deeply the need to hold on to the sacred at all costs. Here, in the 21st century, long after both Lew Wallace and Victor Hugo have passed on to wherever it is they went, we, in our time, are in the process, slowly but surely, of beginning to understand that we must resacralize the West, partly through appeals to the worship of nature via environmentalism, and partly because of the desire to move away from the endless, rapacious hunger of technological innovation. We haven't overthrown our tyrants, weirdly enough, and we still seek justice and redemption. We talk a lot about that on our podcast. But we, collectively, and individual by individual, are realizing in fits and starts, all the way down deep in places that we don't like to talk about at cocktail parties, that delimiting the sacred into areas where it is quote-unquote approved, such as the church, the temple, or even, dare I say, the mosque, is a thin defense against the rapaciousness of a profane worldview. We are also coming to the idea that the eschatology presented by the coming artificial intelligences, one that apes the words of the sacred while behaving in ways that are in truth profane, is a monumental challenge that a desacralized West, with all of its materialism, its psychology, its sociology, its criminology, its biology, and its materialism, cannot match up to. These books and these authors that we will cover this month provide frameworks for discussing ethical governance, organizational justice, and, of course, moral courage. But, in case you miss it, they are also books pointing the ways for leaders to rebuild a sacred worldview, to restructure a sacred worldview, to resacralize a worldview that was once everywhere and everyone could see it. And well, that's it for me. Order my latest book, 12 Rules for Leaders, The Foundation of Intentional Leadership, with Bradley Madigan. This book offers insights, ideas, and presents a framework for addressing the most pressing challenges in the postmodern leadership landscape we are navigating today. Pick up the paperback, hardcover, or ebook everywhere you buy books, and leave a review on Amazon. And thanks.